Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, where everything you're about to hear and see has been done in one take. I'm your host, the One Take Man. Today's video, as a few before it, maybe even the last one I've kind of lost, I've kind of lost track as of the time of this recording, is another video game review. And the video game in question for this video is actually one I haven't really seen talked about online too much. Like, the only YouTuber I know who has videos about this game actually is Gray Still Plays, and as far as I'm aware, he hasn't touched it in several years. And I actually think there is more to this game than its internet presence would, would suggest. So therefore, I thought I would talk about it myself a little bit. And the game in question, as the title has already given away, is CityState. Created and published by Andy Stark, CityState is perhaps obviously, a city builder and slash city management game, the aim of which is to establish, manage, and expand a city that you yourself have created, or several cities that would be part of an array of interconnected maps. Should you go for the campaign mode, because yes, this game also has a campaign mode. What separates this game in particular, however, from others within the genre is the fact that it has an increased emphasis um, on governance, on law, on politics, and on economics. If I may paraphrase its creator just a little bit, it's it's more of a sandbox game rather than a puzzle in terms of its rules. As in the purpose of which is not to find the one true solution that will lead you to the best possible outcome of the game, but rather every potential outcome is the best possible outcome, and the fun lies in really finding all of the things that you can do with it. So there is a lot of emphasis, at least within the marketing, when it comes to this game's open-endedness, flexibility, and experimentation. The TLDW for this review is that is not just idle talk. That is not just corporate speech. I am very convinced that this game does actually support all of that, all of that flexibility and open-endedness. So anything it says you can do, you very much can do within it, and arguably even more. My main issue with the game, however, relies more on how it interacts with how it will interact with the player, because this game is very much as complex uh, as you would imagine a game like this would have to be. However, it is not the information it presents in order to allow players to effectively interact with it is perhaps not presented in the most engaging or informative manner. So yeah, that's really the main issue I found with the game. In case this short version of the review leaves some questions open, I hope the long version of the review will answer them. Uh, when firing up this game, players will have to design the terrain where the city will be built, choose a series of political prerequisites, and then name the city and design its flag. Because yeah, this game really goes all in on the really goes all in not just on the city bit, but also on the state bit. You are in effect uh, managing a micronation and bringing it to the point where it is not so micro anymore of a nation. And after you do all of that, formal stuff, you can go into the actual fun city builder things, which are laying out roads and establishing various zones, like commercial, industrial, residential, etc. And as the game increases, you then have to either expand those zones or establish new ones. depending on the on a case-by-case basis. Over time, as you as players will interact with the game, various prompts will emerge concerning various legal propositions that the city will have to deal with, and the responses players will give to all of those prompts will determine not just how the city itself is run, but also its rate of growth. And the rate of growth is done in a very interesting manner, actually, within this game. Yeah, I got a curtains drawn and I got a little strip of sunshine there, so that's why the light is a little strange. Anyway, my point. The rate of growth within this game is actually done in a very interesting manner, because it's not just a flat figure. It is actually differentiated based upon social strata or classes. So certain policies will be more friendly to the rich, and some will be more friendly to those who aren't the rich. And that in turn will change which kinds of people will be more directly interested to become part of your city, who will want to live in it, which in turn will lead to some various other consequences along the line, mostly tied to the economic developments. But I won't spoil too much of that. For the sandbox enthusiasts within the genre, this game, I'm very pleased to say, has more than just the standardized buildings for the for each individual zone. Like, off the top of my head, you can also create resorts. You can also create mines. You can also create parks. You can also create government buildings. The list goes on and on. I'm really not gonna just sit here and list them all. However, you can't really do them immediately, because aside from these buildings having a certain price attached to them, they are also locked behind various population thresholds, meaning that in order to be able to use some of the more advanced toys that this game puts at your disposal, you first have to prove that you can do well with the with the toys that you start out with. Whether or not it actually makes sense to put some of the buildings that are behind higher population thresholds behind the higher thresholds rather than the lower ones is pretty much up for debate, and a matter of personal preference, which I will not debate because it doesn't really impact the quality of the game. There are, however, two factors that do impact the quality of the game. The first among them is the fact that this game is actually somewhat difficult to learn. Even though there is a tutorial to the game, the tutorial really only informs players how to interact with the menus within the game. It doesn't really show them all of the mechanics of the game. I'm not just talking the subtleties. There are things that you can really only I'm talking about things that you will run into quite often, but that you can really only explore by actually playing the game. The first thing of note is just how much of a delay there actually is between implementing a certain policy and then observing the results of that policy. And because you as the player might disagree with Andy Stark on various political issues, you will find that the results that various policies bring forth will not necessarily match your personal political preconceptions, which admittedly is perhaps a more interesting way to play the game, but it does also make it a little less maybe not predictable, but it kind of decouples your engagement. It makes some things seem quite random, and that makes it a little bit more difficult to really figure out what it is that you're doing within the game. I would recommend, at least for at least for new players, that they play this game with the economic index open, so they can more effectively track what the impact of all of their policies ends up being. The second issue I want to mention, however, is a little bit more serious, namely the fact that even though there are lots of potential outputs or results that this game can spit out, the inputs at the player's disposal, even relatively late in the game, are still quite limited. Meaning that the players have to come to grips with a lot of synergies present within the game, and all of the ways in which their limited interactions can lead to some admittedly somewhat crazy results, particularly if you play if you're far in the game. So yeah, it's safe to say that if you're starting this game, you are in for a you will be in for a long time, perhaps before you are in for a fun time. Overall, while this mixture of SimCity and Civilization holds up surprisingly well, the components of this ultimately the components of this association of this mixture. I didn't want to repeat mixture, but fuck it, I'm repeating mixture. The components of this mixture ultimately fall apart, leading to a significant, I'll say it like this, loss in this game's entertainment value. My final rating for CityState is a 3 out of 5. And yeah, that was my review. Thank you for your attention. If you enjoyed it, well then please leave a like, maybe even share this video wherever you think other people will like it as well. If there's anything you'd like to add to the review or to the game itself, that's what the comment section is for. And if you want to see when my next video gets released, well then please subscribe. And ideally also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. I also have a main channel where I talk about book-related and literature topics, a link to which you will find in the description down below, right past my social media links, which I also suggest you check out, should you choose to. Alternatively, you can support me on Patreon, where you will also be able to receive various perks, such as early access to videos and scripts for both this channel and the aforementioned main one. Until next time, I have been the One Take Man.